Yeah, very glad to be here. So it's a fire chat round discussion today. So I'm Daniel Liu, and I'm the CEO in Fluxo. And join me, and also the co-founder, the founding partner of Andrew Figure. He will introduce himself. So I've been in the blockchain space since 2015. And first in blockchain, I'm the director of the in blockchain and manage a large amount of portfolio companies. Mainly, we only interested in the blockchain meaningful applications and protocols. And then last year, with the help of Andrew and Ronaldinho, we founded an NFT creative studio named Influxo. So our vision is that we are going to revolutionize the digital collectibles. Yeah, very happy to be here.
Sure. Andre, do you want to mention how you're involved with Influxo and what Figure is about, Andre?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be here. I'm a VP of Figure Group. The Figure Group is a sports agency that begins in the end of the 60s with my father, the founder, Juan Figure. And we manage careers of football players and football coaches. We also manage clubs here in Brazil and Latin America. And during these 55 years in the industry, we also act in other kind of business like fitness and education, sports education companies. And for around 2 years ago, we start to see all these sports tech scenario and the innovation coming and helping the football and the sports industry. And we also found a financial company in our group called Fig Venture Partners. And in this company, we look with a lot of attention in the blockchain industry and all the possibilities. And of course, the NFT is a very high right now in the industry since beginning of the last year. And then we joined BigONE and all the group with Daniel and Andy to co-found. They invite us to be part of one of the co-founders of Influxo that help all the football industry, the sports industry, to bring their collectibles and their names and rights in this platform.
Sure. Okay. And over to thank you for that. Over to you, Matt. Tell us a little bit about yourself and obviously about Sportquake.
Sure thing. Hi, happy New Year, everyone, and best wishes for 2022. I am Matt House. I'm the CEO and founder of Sport. Sportquake are a football sponsorship agency. We go out and we evangelize to brands about the power of football to deliver their marketing goals alongside or instead of the traditional marketing mix that they use. We work across all rights holders, all inventory, and we specialize in new economy brands and putting together new economy brands and the football ecosystem to drive growth. Within that, notably online sports betting, fintech, including cryptocurrencies. But we also work across, travel apps, delivery apps, game developers, people like Garena, Free Fire, and people like that. I'm personally invested in cryptocurrencies since 2018, and corporately we've held cryptocurrencies on our balance sheet since 2020.
All right, interesting. Thanks, Matt. Hey, let's kick off the discussion. Obviously, this is focused, and it's very obviously highlighted very much in the media at the moment about NFTs and also obviously with metaverse. Just going to you first, and Daniel, and obviously you've been working on with Influxo, so you're in a great position to tell us about what your understanding about NFTs and also the overlap with metaverses and why it's so important, obviously, to the football industry. So over to you, Daniel, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart. I think an NFT and metaverse has been in the mainstream of the last year. I think it will be the buzzword of the 2021. So everybody has his own understanding of NFTs. So for me, the NFT, non-fungible tokens, firstly, is just a digital format of the things, but with the metaverse and also with our shift from the physical world to the digital world, and the new generations, or say that they need a new a form of type to incorporate those new reality into this new world. So for me, the NFTs and the metaverse is just a new progress towards a digitalized, more and more digitalized, and also a globalized, connected world. And for sports, and especially for football, I think is the undeniably the top one sports in the world. I think they have a lot of synergies with the crypto world and also with NFTs. For our vision, we just need to, we want to build a bridge between the crypto world and the real world. And I think that the sports world is the first bridge for us to do these things. And also, I think the last years, more and more sports, we see a lot of collaborations with the sports and cryptos. First, we see the crypto.com. They have many large sponsors into the sporting event, and also the FTX. And we see also a lot of football players and musicians. They want to issue their own NFTs to have a more broad interaction with their fans and something. I think there's a new kind of economy emerged. So I think I'm very excited to participate in this kind of shift, or say revolution. Yeah.
Cool. Over to you, Andre. What's your understanding? Obviously, you come from the traditional football industry. Your family's knows it inside out. What do you see as the potential? Why have you gotten involved in the NFT side of things? Over to you, Andre.
Yeah, we understand that all the possibilities to bring to all the stakeholders of the football industry new models of transactional and revenues. I think they are very happy with these new possibilities, because I think we can offer their products, rights, images, and whatever you put in the token or in the NFT to funds all over the world, and without all the bureaucracy and all the difficult to transactional. So I think this is the big thing that we are offering to this industry, is the access to all of the places that is before this is very difficult to access. I think the this is a new era, a revolution of different kinds of approach, and to get more fans and approach them, to the players, to the clubs, to the federations, even to the agents. I think this could help all the stakeholders of the industry. And that's why we are getting more and more and deeper involved in this kind of projects like Influxo.
Right, interesting. Anyway, over to you, Matt. You obviously you've got extensive experience in this field. What's your take on why NFTs have become so popular in the football industry? What's your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, if I deal with that at a macro level, I think the thing that is well known is obviously football historically has always really been in and around the most popular sports globally, okay? But obviously with the advent of pay TV and then smartphones and the ability to people to consume beyond the TV set, which is only obviously growing, football really kicked on again, particularly club football. So outside of these big World Cup spikes every 4 years, from around the mid-2000s, with the advent of smartphones and pay TV really driving through, football's now got this really pulsating network of people and clubs and players around the world that really informs this amazing global movement of people, a global phenomenon really, that you can get into a taxi or on a subway or a pub or bar anywhere around the world pretty much, and you can have a conversation about this amazing thing, which means that people can share and communicate and all of that stuff. And really, I mean, our observation when I set up my business in 2006, having worked with the Premier League clubs for around 10 years before that, was that football, as a result of all of these developments, was uniquely placed to help people drive these new types of businesses, which are digital first cross-border businesses. And you know, that really started and got proven with online sports betting over the last 15 to 20 years, and now is very much proving to be the case with other key new economy segments, most notably fintech, within that crypto, and now latterly NFTs. We're very bullish and very long on football as a platform. There's lots of stuff and information that swirls around all the time that, you know, it's going to be replaced and people aren't watching it in the numbers. But you know, every year when you look at the financial health of the industry, it gets stronger and stronger. I mean, Andre's father, I'm sure, could talk about this well, but I remember my first Premier League meeting when I was at Tottenham in 2002, and I went along to that, and they said, well, you know, our TV rights deal is at the top that it ever has been, and we just think it cannot get any bigger. And you know, these were in the days when the Premier League made, I don't know, maybe 300 million over a 3-year cycle globally. So 100 million a year, and now it's making billions and billions and billions. And really, I think that it's only just getting started in terms of the platform and ecosystem that the global football industry drives, and the brands and technologies that it can support. And for sure, NFTs are an interesting area, and I'm sure will drive good two-way, multi-way value. But again, I just think if we look back, and we could go much further back, but if we look at the role that football's played in driving pay TV, social media, clearly it's going to be a massive driver for NFTs and Web3 and all of these other things that come along. I'm not completely clear on the executions, but I just know that football will be a key driver in these areas. If you look at history as being a good forecaster for the future. Right.
Interesting. Well, segueing from what you're saying, Matt, if I could go back to Andre and digging in a little bit into the going from the macro to the micro to the granular. What is the actual? How do you see the utility of NFTs, whether it's for fans or players or the clubs themselves, and actually bringing this alive? What examples would you point to for clubs or getting interested in this, Andre or Daniel, whoever wants to go first?
I can start. I think the clubs and also the players, they have a huge potential to achieve their funds that they already have, and they also have the potential to gain more fans around the world. So with the Web3 and with the mobiles and all the things that Matt mentioned, that a couple of 20 years ago is just the broadcasters of the open televisions and starting to the cable TVs, and right now we have the access in our hands, in our mobiles, to see a match that happens in whatever in the most remotely place, and we can bet in this match. We can search for the social media of the players of this of the teams, and I think this the technology that we have right now and the technology that we will have in a couple of years will help all the players and all the teams to deliver new kind of products like the NFTs, that it is a very fresh and very new model of a line of revenue, and this will help all the industry very much, because right now the clubs in Latin America, and when we talk about the clubs in Europe, the Premier League clubs, they have their balances are very controlled. They have the financials is another level of the teams of Latin America and the teams of Africa and the other kind of places like these emerging markets. So the clubs here, with these new models of revenues, and also the players, they will transform dramatically their scenario. No, they will get it very powerful with this fresh and new possibilities. And I think this is this totally disruption of the market, and we'll put all the places in the same level. And this is we are facing a very new moment of this industry, this market.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Thank you, Andre. What do you say to that, Daniel? Do you see that this moment of disruption, driven by NFTs. What's your take on the utility of NFTs, Daniel?
Yeah, I think I agree with Matt and Andrew say that this is a new kind of model. It's a technology-enabled model. And also I think that, as I've mentioned, that the world has come to a place that everything's digitalized. Everyone has a smartphone on their hands, and there is a global internet. So the NFTs and also maybe the tokens and other cryptos is just a new, opens a new door to the different kinds of possibilities. So in terms of the utilities of NFTs, we have seen a lot of applications. There are a lot of experiments. I see that there is also some clubs issuing NFT tickets, NFT souvenirs, NFT collectibles. And also we see that there is some football players, they're issuing their own tokens to have a more connection with their fans. And also the NFTs we can do, maybe, I don't know, it's possible sports betting. They have new ways to do the sports betting, especially we have a 24 hours, 365 days global market. So they are all different possibilities. And recently, as Stuart told me that in England, I think in UK, there is a Brad takeover, and there is a Bradford club and takeover, I think, using NFTs. I think they're going to build a DAO, and decentralized autonomous organizations. They want to purchase a club so that the fans can own part of the things. And this is also kind of an interesting experiment we're looking forward. So for me, there are a lot of things to do, and I quite agree with Matt that they say that the football is really a good driver for the crypto world or for the NFT world. And I think that we all watch football games, and we all have our own favorite clubs or favorite stars. We know that football is really a good sport to drive us and to get the familiarity, and in terms of to the loyalties. I think in the NFT world, people says that it's not only say that if I own an NFT, I own something. Sometimes people purchase an NFT to show their identities. So it's kind of like a digitalized flex. So football is also, it kind of have this natural things of tribalism. And I think it's very good fit in the NFT areas and in the crypto trend. So I think there's a lot of good experiments going forward about how can we just incorporate the sports and the internet together.
I think that's really good points. I mean, it's funny, I'm just thinking back. I think the key point with this topic that we're discussing is we're obviously just at the very beginning and we're just getting started. And you know, when we think back to smartphones, I think which was the first iPhone was 2006, the first iterations of the internet. And I remember working with football clubs in the late 90s and early 2000s, and in, you know, your sponsorship contracts of the time, you would maybe have one clause about all of your online marketing rights. You know, you shall have a presence on manunited.com, and now obviously within a contract there are sections and sections and sections around your digital and social marketing rights, and they're the most valuable rights alongside the club IP and the club branding platforms. So I think it's important to remember that we are just getting started in this space, and picking up on what was mentioned just then by Daniel about this NFT-backed takeover of Bradford by this American group. That's quite an interesting case point, right? So that's not been successful. And the reason that's not been successful is because the current owner of Bradford has some reservations around how that might play out, and that his role as a guardian and someone that's very focused on his legacy to Bradford City fans and the local community of Bradford. He wanted to have a better understanding of how that might play out, which I just think is hard at the moment because it's so first mover. But I think that one of the interesting things there, and the reason why football is such a powerful platform for emerging and new economy businesses, is it offers this unique mixture of the real world and the offline world, and things that are known in people's lives, and infrastructure that is real, with massive digital and social reach. And this is something that's very unique. So if you get involved around football marketing, you aren't just sitting on Facebook, you're actually integrated into the real world. And I think this is one of the key differentials, and why football and other sports are so powerful for building these new economy products. I also think it is quite important not to just think about football. I mean, I think obviously what Dapper Labs have done in the States with the other big American sports, I think has been very interesting. And obviously some of that stuff coming from a kind of place of collectibles and the big playing card and collectible culture in the States, I think is obviously interesting stimulus. But I think, going back to what I was just talking about there at the top was, I think when we all reconvene in 10 and 20 years time and we look back at this section of the history, I think it will be very, very informative, again, in the same way that I'm looking back and thinking about what football club websites used to be in 2000 versus where we're at now in terms of how football clubs present themselves across all digital and social platforms in 2021, just 20 short years.
Yeah. And I think one other thing, maybe when we're talking about all these bright new shiny devices or tools like NFTs, is there are risks involved as well, right? Here in Europe, the abortive Super League, one of the arguments was that younger people have kind of got shorter attention spans because of social media natives, internet natives, and that they're turning off football. And I guess that's another is this a double-edged sword? How does football get it right so that it actually, talking what you were just there, Matt, about the offline and the online, bringing it together, obviously there are risks involved in that as well, right?
Yeah. There are. I mean, I think the thing with football, and I think 100% speaking for myself, but speaking for the wider industry, I think it's essential that we're not complacent. But I think football has a unique, proven way of staying very relevant, and is in many ways and in many regards. And when I look at the different sponsors that come through football, it is a mirror to global macroeconomics in terms of the different types of brands that you see on shirts and other major competitions. And also, I think each generation of people, like I think of my generation and when we were coming through and how we integrated and adopted football fandom, and also playing football and the different styles of football that get played on the pitch and the tricks and the way that individuals bring it out. I think it is a very, very unique beast. I think you're absolutely right. We mustn't be complacent, but I do think that it will morph and it will change, and its roles and engagements and the partners that work with it and the technology around it will evolve and change. But I do think looking forward, there will be a strong football industry 20 years hence. I think it's better set up now than it has been 20 years prior.
Right. So, Andre, what's your take on, you know, the obviously younger people more interested in gaming, and you know, it's a big industry. You know, from your perspective, based in Brazil, with you know your own expertise, what's your view on the kind of, you know, the value or the risks of NFTs for the younger audience, younger fans, Andre?
Yeah, I think because all of the points that this is a new product, this is a new industry, we have to take care about of these kind of things. If these products, the NFTs, the tokens, is what if a boy of 13 years old buy a NFT with the objective, with the aim of a collectible, of like he buy a shirt or like he buy a card with an autograph of a player. If his aim is to keep this because he likes the player or because he is a fan of the club, this is okay. We just know that this market happens in the offline world scenario, but because of all the platforms that offer you also the second market, this is something to look very close. And this is what we are facing. We are in the new industry. We are offering new kind of products, and we have to keep the control of, okay, who is able to buy this, and this is a huge responsibility that we have. No, we have to keep the I think the way to delivery an experience, delivery a collectible, and with all the consent of if he's not a very young, if he's a very young people buying this kind of products, have to be the consent of their families or their parents. And this is a great point to think about, you know.
Yeah, I think the thing is, just picking up on that, Andre, that is that the known knowns are that key teams and leagues and players now deliver these massive audiences, whether regionally, pan-regionally, globally. The thing with NFTs, and we're talking about that, and Web3 specifically, is no one knows exactly how those will monetize. So you know, there's a clear business model that we understand that playing cards monetize in a certain way, and on the primary market, children buy them, they trade them in the playground, and then they collect their books and so forth. And then there's also a very, very healthy secondary market where these rare playing cards go for massive money, primarily a US market, but also around key properties in the rest of the world as well. And the thing that we don't know and that we'll work through and we'll understand better in the coming years is, you know, are we talking about a world where Ronaldinho has NFTs like Bored Apes that are worth $400,000 a piece, or actually is it that the collectible element around Ronaldinho or Man United is more at the $1 to $10 rate? And these are the things that are really fun and exciting to work out. I think speaking like we work right across the market, rights owners, sell side and buy side, and you know, for the sell side, clearly this is a very, very exciting area to get involved in, and could have some massive new sustainable revenue streams around it. But I think everybody on that sell side is being, to a greater or lesser extent, responsible about how they get involved in this. because they know how high profile they are. So it's in nobody's best interest that there's lots of stories about people losing lots of money.
Mm-hmm. All right, I take your point. I mean, what's your take on it, Daniel? Obviously, you've got the expertise in NFT. You've been working on the Ronaldinho NFT. What's your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I think this goes back to the utility of the NFTs. And also we say that now it's a crypto market, it's 24/7. So undeniably, the NFTs and those tokens have more financial elements than that of the cards, the traditional playing cards. So sometimes it's kind of like these tokens can be speculative and can be a very, very high price, and then it will be dropped to zero because of the illiquidity. So I think it's a new area. We all need to experiment on that. We have to try different things. I think this is the first things in terms of the fans to the audience, and also I think that for us, especially those the stakeholders of this new industry, I think we need to explore new ways to deal with those things, especially how can we incorporate those IPs, those rights into the NFTs? Can we do those things in the old-fashioned way? I think sometimes it's very hard for us to say the NFT is just a traditionally playing cards or souvenirs, and you buy it and then something like that. So I think there's a lot of challenges for us to do. And for me, I think previously I worked in the crypto industry, and everything, it's from the early days, it's very, very it's like utopian. Everything should be decentralized, should be democratized. And if you issue an NFT, so like the Bradford, we'll just buy it. So there is a group of enthusiasts says we can buy it, we issue the token, we buy it. And there is no concern about those the reality, about the compliance, the rights, and those sort of things. So in terms of these sectors growing into a larger and mature industry, we need to consider how can we interact with the real world. So I think it depends a lot of help and research from the expertise like Andrew and also like Matt. There are a lot of things to be done. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess my obviously we've gone through a lot of the points around the NFTs and the wider industry, but let's not forget this year, after 2 years of pandemic, we're going to have World Cup in Qatar. What's everyone's predictions, visions for how is this going to really grow NFTs, or is it going to be down to the individual clubs? What's your predictions, your visions for what's actually going to happen this year and the next, maybe, bearing in mind, World Cup this year as well. What's your thoughts, Matt? Are we really going to see a big jump in the NFTs in football this year, or is it just going to be a steady chug? What's your take?
Well, I think the main drivers for NFT awareness in football in the coming 6 to 12 months will be driven out of the back of club football. Right. The reality is that most of the FIFA World Cup partners for the Qatar World Cup 2022 have already been sold. There are some last minute negotiations that will go on over the next 6 months or so. And that may see someone with some sort of powerful FIFA endorsed NFT campaign, but I think that there are some challenges to doing that with FIFA, but not to say it's not impossible. I think the other handbrake on NFTs at the moment is just and cryptocurrencies within that is just around regulation. and as discussed, some of the clubs, depending on the jurisdiction that they're based in, and depending on their own financial well-being and the demand from more established sources of revenue, which aren't companies which are 1 or 2 years old, having a bit of a longer-term view rather than just taking the big money that some of these businesses can afford to put down. So, I think it's notable that cryptocurrency exchanges have spent, from a standing start, around about 200 million sterling over the last 12 months alone on sponsorships generally. So that's not just soccer. That includes, obviously, the Crypto.com deal with taken over from the Staples Center and the FTX Stadium naming rights with the Miami Heat. But I think that in terms of the really big football sponsorship assets, where you're talking about the top 10 football clubs in the world, the likes of Barcelona and Man City, they have front of shirt options available for the 22-23 season. And there's no doubt Crypto.com and FTX could afford to do those deals, but bearing in mind the trading history of Crypto.com and FTX versus incumbent partners like Standard Chartered, the debate that the top clubs will go around is, well, we can get more money from these cryptocurrency exchanges, but are they good to continue to pay for 4 years? Now, I think, we're talking about very established and blue chip businesses in Crypto.com and FTX, but it might be that whilst they want the brand awareness now, do they continue to want that in 3, 4, 5 years? And where they've got established people who are prepared to pay and in quote unquote are good for their money, this is the debate that's going on in the boardrooms at the top clubs at the moment. These are the debates. But I do continue to see with the smaller clubs, they'll continue to take the money, and I think there will be a healthy flow of cryptocurrency exchanges in club football. I'm not sure we'll see a FIFA World Cup partner out of this space, although I'm sure Crypto.com and FTX are having those conversations with FIFA now.
Right. Yeah. It's good to get that insight for sure. And what about you, Andre? What's happening in the world of Brazilian football over this year? Do you really see NFTs taking off as part of financing and fan engagement? What's your thoughts, Andre?
Yeah, the big clubs here in Brazil already have some agreements with some companies, local companies and international companies. Most of them are playing the fan engagement tokens, like socios and chilis. There are a local company here in Brazil also that are developing some different kinds of tokens regarding some economic rights of some clubs, of some rights of players that they have, and they are testing. They are making some tests with the market, if the market buys the tokens or not. And I also regarding the World Cup, I think some federations already made some agreements also with some crypto companies. There are Turkish companies that are in Formula One as well. They make some contracts here in CBF with the Brazilian team, the Brazilian national team, and with other federations as well, like Spain and I think Argentina, Mexico. So regarding the NFTs, there are also are some clubs here in Brazil testing with the issues of some NFTs, and they are very happy with the results. They are selling the NFTs. There are already some secondary markets with these NFTs, and it's very new. They are accepting. The clubs here are looking with a lot of attention on this. They are open in their clubs, in the structure of the clubs, some divisions to technology, to innovation, and they are talking with all the stakeholders, all the industry of these markets to establish some partnerships and test some issues of some tokens, NFTs, and fund tokens, coins, and whatever they are getting approached, because the market here is a big market, no? Big clubs here have a lot of funds, and the companies are looking for this to big numbers, no?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, Andre, just coming in on that. I mean, we've noticed over the last 3 years that LATAM and our buy-side demand for LATAM as a key geography has really grown heavily over the last 3 years in terms of the size of population, the demographic profile, and the indexing in terms of the profile wanting to buy, download, consume, game. I think it's a very interesting area, LATAM. I think it's very, very high growth. When I look at key fintech clients that we have, key game developer clients, there's a lot of demand for LATAM.
Yeah, especially in Latam, Brazil is the huge market, and the Brazilians here are crazy regarding the technology, regarding the smartphones, the new users, and testing the innovation is a huge market, and this, I think right now in Brazil, in the last 2 years, grow up a lot of new unicorns. So this is a huge market. This is a huge market. Latam, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Colombia, the big markets here. There are a lot of people, and the innovation is very successful here.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, and how about you, Daniel? What's your thoughts about the year ahead? Is it about the markets or the clubs, or is it about the World Cup? What's going to be the real driver of NFT adoption, Daniel?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a different take. I think that the players in itself will take the big take to exploring the NFT market. We say that there is a World Cup, there is a clubs, there's a lot of club tokens, club fans tokens issuing. I saw that in BigONE exchanges where Stuart works on, there's issuing a lot of Brazilian and also other clubs tokens. I think that's a very good thing, but I also think that the NFTs is also a good way for the individual players to monetize themselves, especially with the advance of the social tokens. I think that individual players maybe can explore more things and to build more different scenarios, to have more interactions with the fans. I think, of course, there is a lot of challenges in terms of the clubs and players themselves, how they sign their agreements. I think that the clubs may have to explore some new things for the players themselves to do some new things. I think that the players NFTs may have some good year, especially for this year.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in on that, I totally agree. I mean, once this whole area finds its feet, I think there's no doubt one of the key beneficiaries will be the players, the talent direct. But I think, you know, if you look at the top players, and, you know, specifically within that, you look at CR7 and Messi. I think, again, like the top football clubs in the world, they're being very, very careful about how they enter this space. So I think the question I have with that is just around timing. I think absolutely this whole area which lends itself much more to a transactional NFT geared metaverse that we're going into. It's going to be great for all rights owners, teams, and obviously the players themselves. I just think it's about timing as we just go through this phase.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think that maybe if it will take more time to build, but I think in the future there will be some, not only the top tier, the top talented players, but also the mediocre players. They will have, they will have find some ways to do that. Yeah, I think I think in the 90s, if a retired mediocre players, maybe their retirement life is just to open a restaurant or maybe a bar or something like that to spend their rest of life. But I think with this new type of technology, they can build a new community with their hardcore fans. And I think they can explore more things for their retirement life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the key thing. You know, you use the word mediocre, but someone who's a mediocre player to you might have a special place in my heart or in Andre's heart.
Yes,
exactly. So I think that this whole more transactional phase that we're going into is going to be great news for everybody, from the biggest giants to the smallest players who have had a part in the overall football story and the club story.
Yeah, sure. And also, I think another kind of players that we are looking at certainly will issue their NFTs is the beginning, the youth players that are starting their career and they need support. How they get the support? Maybe the agents give them the first support to buy the boots or to buy the supplements or to take the bus to go to training, and the family, some friends. And right now, with the possibility to issue an NFT, all these people will still helping, but buying their NFTs, and they have something.
Yeah,
they are helping to buy the books. They are helping all the things, and they have the assets. And maybe if this player grows to a big player, okay, I support in the first. I have one NFT in the beginning of the career. This NFT will have value in the future, you know, because I am the first mover here with this in the career of this player. This is marketing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are some issues around third-party ownership and squaring that with NFT and so forth. But there are, as you say, there are so many different applications that this could be a key part of over the coming years. It lends itself to some very interesting areas, for sure. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, that's I think we've all agreed we've had a fascinating discussion on the role of NFTs in football. There's obviously many avenues we could discuss and continue on, and unfortunately our hour is nearly up. But it's nice just to go ask everyone what for them is their takeaway from this discussion. You know, what would they like to leave the viewer with? Maybe starting with you, Andre. What would you like to say in conclusion?
No, I think, like you said, Stuart, I think this is a attempt to discuss for hours and hours, because we are looking at a very new movement, a new industry getting starting, and I think we had to be with our head and our view very open to all these new possibilities, uh, to help all the players that are beginning, the players that already are not the old players, the players that are not playing anymore, the clubs, and this is a very great momentum that we are facing, and let's be part of this and let's contribute with this market.
Nice. Matt, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, my takeaway is I think it's very interesting, exciting application and development. On paper, it has lots of potential. It has a great fit with the massive global football ecosystem and reach around the world. It's transactional. Everybody around football likes that. But I think it's just important to remember we're taking baby steps. We're very much at the beginning, and it's going to be incumbent upon everybody to approach this in a responsible, smart, short-term, long-term way. And so I think it's very, very exciting. We love building new businesses at Sportquake. We love working with entrepreneurs. We love working with football people, and I think this brings everybody together in a really good way.
Nice, nicely put. And Daniel from Influxo, what's your takeaway? What would you like to say in conclusion?
Yeah, so my takeaway is that it's true that we're still at the beginning. There's a lot of things to do, and like Matt says, we need to take a baby steps one by one, and to tackle those difficulties and those challenges. And I think that it's a new things, and it maybe will be 10 to 20 years, but there's a lot of it to do, and I'm very excited to see how a different future will be.